So, migrations. As we all know, Django uses the ORM technique to automatically create a database schema when a developer need data for the application, for a web application. And we usually deal with a dynamic database or a dynamic application where we need our data to change or by user or by the application itself. So to create the states of our table of our data, Django use migration files as a technique to propagate change made to a model into a database schema. So the migration file act like a versioning control system for your database. So what's happening is that when to automatically create your table or update your table structure, Django use the migration files, which are sort of the states of your model, and map it onto your database schema to update the schema or change the schema of your database. So as soon as you change your model, Django creates a migration file as a record. And as you migrate, it automatically generates a SQL command that will update your schema. In this video, we'll look at how to create a migration file, how to deal with migration conflicts, and the difference between the initial migration, a dependent migration, and a data migration. So let's demonstrate how we can use a migration file in Django. Need to look at one of our application here. We got customer application. We go on model. So in our custom application, we just have the last name, the first name. So to create a migration file that will automatically update our schema, we need to add a new field. Just for the record, or in this video, I'm using Postgres as a database. If you don't know how to configure Postgres in your database, you can look at the documentation, see how to configure Postgres in your local database. Using Postgres in my lab, so yeah, so we'll be using Postgres as a database. So to create a migration file, we just need to add a new field in our customer. That's the way we can create a simple migration record. So we have last name for customer. We can also add date of birth, model, integer field, null equal false. Yeah. Default 0. Yeah. And So we need to migrate now. So as we can see, we just made a change on the customer field and create our migration. We first need to create a migration record, which is a migration file, by typing python manage.py, make migration. Make migration, we go through customer and policy and check their models files if there is a change, and then also check the existing migration, and if there is a change between the migration file and the model, Django will automatically create a new migration file as a record for this particular entity or this particular class called customer. So let's look at so to see a new migration file, we need to look at the migration folder. And we see now we have a new record called 0002 customer date of birth. So, and this is just a record. At this point, there is no change in our database schema. So as we can see, if we want to look at our database schema, we can just python manage by DB shell to access our database schema. Now we are in the insurance DB, \d to see all the table. We can let's see the name of the table, customer. So the name of table is, the name is customer underscore customer on the public schema. So you can simply type \d customer on the customer to see the structure. Up to now, we have not made any change in our schema. We still have the ID, the first name, the last name, the age. Although we've just had the data or the date of birth as a new property or a new attribute. Although we have just had the date of birth as a new field for our future updates on table customer, we can see that the table customer still has not changed because we have now applied the migration. So to apply our migration, we need to type python manage by migrate. Now we've migrated, unfortunately, we've migrated more than we expected, but you can see here, we have a customer 0002 customer date of birth, which is the migration that we just apply on table customer. So to see the change, yeah, so to see the change made in our schema, we can just type customer underscore customer, and we can now see that we have a new field name, date of birth of type integer, we should now be nil with the default value of 0. That's simple way we can create a migration file in Django REST framework. When we create our migration file, as mentioned, Django create a record of the change made in our, migration. Initial migrations. So initial migration are just the first migration that Django creates when we first create our model, which gonna be, mapping the data in our future table. That's the initial migration. So let's say we have a new app called Premium. Let's create an app called Premium. Python manage manage starts app. Premium. So we do have a new app called Premium, and we want to create a model for this app. So we can create a class called Premium. Create a model. We got the face, attributes, price, model, integer, we can call Premium small integer. By small integer, we want something like something like a billion number, the integer number price. We need the payment cycle. So the payment cycle may be something like a string, or char feed, and so we can select the chart feed for the payments cycle. Payment cycle, which gonna be let's make a payment cycle, let's make a payment cycle or something that should be selectable. Choice. Okay, payment cycle will be chart feed, and of course we need to create a reference for this Premium policy. So we can import from policy model imports policy, model foreign key to a policy, on delete model cascade, we can also create the relate name premiums. Yeah. So we just create a new model in our application premium. So to create the initial model, we can just button manage by make migration, and we just want to make migration for application premium. So we can just specify the application. So as you can see, the pre-check fails because the label premium doesn't exist in our install application. So we need to make sure we add the premium application of the customer. So we got premium. Migrates our premium application. We got another system. We need a max length for the payment cycle. Payment cycle max length. Let's say 85. So the payment cycle here should be something like a monthly or weekly or daily or annually. We can even create a choice field here, define all the payment cycle statically and pass it automatically, but we're not gonna talk about that now. So okay, now we create our first migration file for the model premium. So to see the initial migration, we can look at our file migration records, and we have a new attribute initial true. So the initial migration is just the first migration record in a given application. Yeah, so this is the initial migration, so which means this is the first migration with our application. Now we need to look at the way we can revert our migration file. So to revert our migration file, we can just, to revert the migration file, we can just go to, let's go to one of the applications where we have a migration record. Let's go to customer. Yeah. So in customer here, we do have two migration. We have the initial migration, and we have the migration 002. So to revert, to delete this migration, to revert our database, as we can see here in our data structure, we have the date of birth. So if we want to delete this date of birth with all the records, you know, which is now, you know, an ideal situation, an ideal, action to do. But if we want to delete this date of birth in customer, we can just type Python manage migrate 001. So in customer, so we're telling Django to apply the migration for file 001. So we don't have 0001. Oh, okay. We need to specify the app customer 001. So we're telling Django, hey Django, to apply migration for file 001 in the application customer. So as you can see the message here, applying customer 002, which means Django will automatically delete the field date of birth that we create here. So let's look at the structure again. Customer. Yeah, as you can see, Django automatically deletes date of birth. But it is recommended as soon as you apply, a migration file, it's better to just delete that. So since we are using Git, we can Git status. We don't have Git init. So we can init our Git and config git config local username Jekula git config local user email. It's Jekula at outlook.com. Git config local list. Okay. So we configure our Git repository locally. And since we have applied this migration 002, we can just Git remove customer migration 002. Git status. So we didn't apply anything here. So let's add touch dot git now echo dot idea to git ignore and echo dot db secret 3. I'm not using db secret 3 anymore. I'm now pointing to Postgres or somewhere in my local network, but I just need to skip that on git ignore or ignore git status git head on its status. We can just remove that. Remove customer migration 402. So we remove the migration. Yeah, since we have apply the migration 002, we can just remove that. Now we can commit our file, our application commit, create premium. There we go. So that's the way we can apply the migration. But bear in mind, when you apply a migration, make sure also you delete the field in the class, so that's in the next migration, Django cannot recognize that. So we have to delete date of birth and then commit. Delete date of birth, customer model. Okay. So one thing we need to bear in mind is that when you apply migration, you need to make sure you untrack the migration file, delete the migration file, also remove the record in the customer, in the model, or literally delete that, so you can make so that on the next migration, Django will now recognize that.